Most of us often chase rather pumps than established memes. And a green candle is somehow spoiled for us until it's screenshot. We stare at charts, forgetting it changes nothing. We watch charts, but not ourselves. This is a disaster. For as a result of confusing dopamine hits with actual profit, we are destroying our net worth. We are so tied up in FOMO and charts that we've lost all conviction. Time to wake up. What is alpha? Obviously, nobody can say, because it isn't just drawing lines on charts. It isn't rotation meta, that's just an idea. Alpha is the Giga cycle cannot be explained in words.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Giga Motion, focused on remineralization or minerals for essential longevity, joined by always with my co-host, with the mother mostest, we got Crypto Chuck Mangio. How you doing, bro?
I'm good. How are you, dude?
Oh man, those intros are getting really good, bro. I've been practicing.
I love it. I think it's great. What's going on over there in sunny Bali?
What's going on? I had a really good day yesterday. Did some hand-to-hand. For people that don't know, that's where you're standing up and somebody is doing a handstand in your hands. I haven't flown it. I've been flying it or basing it. That's what we call it when you're the person that's holding them. I've been doing that on the ground the last couple weeks. I haven't done a high one in maybe 10 years. And there's this amazing circus performer named Angel, Guinness World Record holder, that was in town. So we did it up high and just crushed it, bro. And that was the highlight of my week. That is so fun, man.
Angel's a girl, right?
Yeah. She's a beast, bro. Like, stunt performer from Los Angeles, multiple time Guinness World Record holder, like really like professional.
Damn, so you're literally holding her up over your head.
Yeah, you do it kind of low, like to start, and then you can go high. So you kind of like, they jump off your shoulders, hand to hand like that. You pop them off. And
Damn, dude. That's the last time you did circus stuff, 10 years ago?
No, the last time I based or did hand to hand, which is the handstands in hands, that was probably up high. That was probably 10 years ago.
Dude, so what do you think? What's the hardest part of it?
That just for me at this point, man, it's like kind of wrist longevity and injury prevention. Because I've been doing, you saw in that video, I've been doing a lot of handstands, press handstands, calisthenics. I'm a thick boy. I weigh about as much as your eyebrows do right now. Thank you. And just joint prevention, man. Like, I feel like I'm getting a little bit older. I'm 36 now. I'm kind of feeling the extra weight on my joints. So I've been getting a lot of wrist pain, kind of like tendinitis-y vibes. I'm gonna have to start wrapping up my hands. So that's probably the hardest part. Good evening, Corn Pop.
Your ribs? Corn Pop, the legend. Love that guy. So you wrap your wrist up, like almost like you.
No, I need to, though. I'm probably gonna use just my fight wraps.
That makes sense. Keep them sturdy. I need to think, dude.
And I mean,
like kick up.
Oh, bro, because it's like all the weight is pressed into your hands. So it's like the ultimate kind of wrist stabilization. And it's a very unnatural. You're not used to, holding 120 pounds just kind of up here. So it's a lot of pressure on these weird areas. And I broke this hand so many times when I was growing up from fighting. Like, I have like this, it's just this, there's no knuckle here. And then it's just a big chunk of bone. So I've been kind of getting this almost arthritis, like in my hand, boxer fractures, because I'm a tough guy, bro.
Dude, speaking of arthritis, I have to say We did the episode on peptides. Then I popped my hamstring. I'm like 11 days removed from it, and I am blown away. That's the first time I ever used it, like after a real injury, and blown away. Honestly, like I couldn't believe how fast I recovered, just from it being so swollen and bruised that I couldn't even get an MRI like a day or two later.
Wow.
To everything's gone. The swelling, the bruising. I'm walking fine. Been doing just like some real basic like isometric stuff. Still working out, but like hamstring wise, like very basic, flipping the jump box over to like 24 inches, just stepping up slowly. But I could do air squats, not a lot of them. I feel it when I do that, but blown away, honestly.
So
That
what
would have
were you
been
taking? How much were you taking? How long was it until you got kind of got those results?
So I got it in probably 4 days later. Uh, I totally did the first one way too, because you felt we were on the opposite sides of the world. So I asked you like, should I do 1 milligram of the water or 2 milligrams? I only
2
did
milliliters.
2 milliliters. Sorry, I only did 1 milliliter of water into 10 milligrams, and I was doing like two on the line. So what is that? So they were big. The bottle only lasted like 3 days. And then the second one, I did 2 milliliters of water.
Yeah, I mean, so certain peptides, like, you kind of need more
And it's
dilution. Usually dilution's
BPC
not that
157, TB
if you're
500
taking, like,
combo.
glutathione or NAD+, you want more dilution just because it can really burn. Dilution's not too much of a problem with BPC, just using 2 milliliters of water. It's just easier to measure. Everything's like 1 cc is
Yeah.
500 micrograms, right? So it just becomes really easy. Otherwise, you're using a calculator, it's like 166 or something. Your doses are kind of weird.
But yeah, so I went through the first bottle. I got the second bottle 2 days ago. I put 2 milliliters of water, been doing 1 microgram. Does that sound right?
1 cc.
Yeah. Does that sound right?
Yeah,
I don't
so
know.
basically, I would have to bust out. Well, if it's a 10 milligram bottle and you put
Yeah.
2 milliliters of water in, then every cc should be 500 micrograms.
Okay. So then I'm doing two. So I guess I'm doing half of them, a shot twice a day.
Yeah, so that would be 250.
Two 250. Yeah. So I'm doing
It's a
that twice a day right
pretty
now.
standard dose. Sometimes I crank my dose up to like 500 micrograms in the morning and evening if it's a really bad injury to try to kickstart it. But 250 micrograms of BPC is kind of the standard dose. And then obviously with TB, it's a completely different dosing regimen.
Weighing it on that one. It's apparently mixed in there. I don't know how that works exactly. All I know is
They
blown
mix
away
it
by the
together.
results. Yeah, and
I'm not
it
a
came.
big fan when they mix it together, but I know a lot of people do that just because they don't want to take more injections. Just because the
Yeah,
dosing protocol is different with TB.
that makes sense. But yeah, it
Like with
was.
TB, you typically want to take like 2,000 micrograms, like kind of twice a week instead of doing like daily shots.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
good to know.
I don't know though. Like I don't know what the studies compare to. That's just kind of the standard dosing protocol. I don't know if there's been studies done on like what microdosing TB actually does and why it's more efficient to macrodose it. That's something I'd have to dig into a little more.
Yeah, either way, blown away. I mean, I also like was taking a ton of collagen every day, eating like a dozen eggs a day, Epsom salt bath, just doing my thing. But I really, there's no way this would have healed this fast because I've torn that same hamstring. It was like 15 years ago when I was in California playing softball. Dude, it
Softball.
was the same thing, man. My whole leg was bruised, and that one took months to recover from. I would say I'm 75% recovered, like literally 10 days later. Kind of, kind of crazy.
And there's a
But
reason we
today's
did a
not
whole
about
episode on
peptides.
peptides, right? There's a reason we did a whole episode on peptides. Like they really, really work.
Yeah, I'm like convinced that is now the future of preventative and restorative medicine. For
Absolutely.
yeah, like I mean, I was pretty convinced when we did the episode, but after this experience, I'm like really convinced after that.
If the FDA is trying to ban something that works really well, like,
Yeah,
it's good.
that's when you
Like,
know it's good.
you know it's good.
100%.
That's like the gold seal. That's the
Yeah,
government telling you. That's big pharma telling you, like, "This really works. Don't take it." Like,
nah, totally, 100%. Right. Let's kind of learn that with the psychedelics. Yeah, same
but we
same
digress.
blueprint.
We digress. What's this episode about today?
Yeah, so today is about mineralization, which is actually a huge deal, especially in current times. It's kind of crazy when you do the research to when you compare. So minerals are they're actually called inorganic compounds, right? Or inorganic elements, but they're essential for our physiological functions, right? So what I mean by inorganic is vitamins are organic compounds, right? But minerals are not. They actually come from the earth's crust, and either plants eat them and we eat the plants, or we eat them, right? That's how we get minerals. As opposed to vitamins, our body could actually create some vitamins, right? Like vitamin D is a great example. You walk out in the sun and your skin is able to create vitamin D. Vitamin K is another one. There's a couple of B vitamins like biotin that actually gets made in our gut. So there's a difference, right? Like minerals, we have to ingest. We cannot make minerals. We have to ingest them. And why that matters is they have been completely stripped from our food for a bunch of different reasons we're going to go over today. But minerals in general are important because they are the foundation of functions like enzyme activity, nervous system signaling, which we'll definitely go over today, muscle function. And they kind of break down into two categories, right? It's like your macro minerals. So that's your magnesium, calcium, and then trace minerals, which you need a much smaller amount, but they're equally as important. That's like your iron, selenium, zinc. So today we're going to go over one macro mineral, which is magnesium, and then three trace minerals, which are iron, zinc, and selenium. And the reason why we'll go over those is those ones are found the most in soil, right? So those are the ones that are most important to soil. And why I say soil is our soil has been depleted of minerals over the last 50 to 70 years. There is hundreds of peer-reviewed studies now that go over this. And why that matters is that's where our food comes from, right? So when the soil is stripped of the minerals, that means the food is going to be stripped of the minerals as well. And when you're talking about something like magnesium, I believe, is most humans are deficient in magnesium, the most
Yeah,
of any
the
mineral.
number one mineral deficiency worldwide. Worldwide.
We'll go over the functions of magnesium in a little bit, but it does so many things. Like truly, it does so many things, and it's been stripped from our food, right? So just based on like a scale, when they study the mineralization of the soil, they basically base it off of fruits, vegetables, and grains. So they're down anywhere between 15 to 60%, depending on the mineral that you're talking about, right? So when you're talking about calcium, it's down in our food over the last 50 years, anywhere, because it all depends on where you're talking about geographically, right? Like what's going on in Europe is going to be different from China, which is going to be different from America. So it all depends on the study, but calcium is down anywhere between 20 to 40%. Magnesium's down around 35%. Iron, another huge one, down 15 to 50%. Zinc, same thing. It's like 15 to 60% across. Now that's the average, right? So there's some places where it's more, there's some places where it's less, but not really. And a lot of this has to do with like just really intense farming, right? Monoculture agriculture, which is you grow one thing on the same land over and over and over again. So you combine that with like heavy uses of like chemical fertilizers, and it just strips the minerals away from the food. And like these fertilizers are terrible, right? Like these synthetic fertilizers. So what they do is they focus on like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. But what that does is it strips away all the trace minerals, right? So you're talking about selenium, iron, copper. Learned a ton about iron and copper today. Really important. Didn't know that. But those, all of our key foods are stripped down basically a minimum of 20% today compared to 50 to 70 years ago. And then the real kicker is
20 is
food
probably
processing.
being generous, right?
Yeah, so then food processing actually is the worst, right? So we always talk about highly processed foods, right? So that food processing literally strips away, especially when you're talking about grain, over 90% of the minerals are stripped from the food because it actually strips away the bran and the germ, which is the most important part. That's where all the magnesium and zinc are in the grain. So any processed grain that you eat has literally been stripped of almost all nutritional value. That's why you always see, like, if you go into the cereal aisle, right, and you go to like pick up like any crappy cereal, you turn it around, it'll say fortified grains, fortified, because they literally just go and add iron back in. And when they say adding iron, like sometimes it's literally like shards of iron. It's not
Dude,
it's absolutely,
the process
yeah.
in general is so toxic, right? Like you're stripping down, it could not be more unnatural. You're stripping down all the essentials in the soil, and then you're using these toxic petrochemical processes to re-add the stuff that a lot of times isn't even bioavailable.
And the other thing too is like this high yields farming that they do, right? So that's like grow the biggest and fastest crops as you can. When you increase the size, you decrease the minerals. That's just how it works. Like it's either you grow it like fast and big or you grow it like small and condensed. That's why like when you go to a farmer's market, you rarely see like the huge vegetables, right? Like strawberries are a great example of this. Go to your like in the summertime, you go to a farmer's market and you get strawberries and they're tiny. They're very small compared to
And
like the
they're
big
delicious,
strawberries you get in the
man.
supermarket. And it's because those are grown in small batches on way more fertile soil, and they don't need to get like that is unnatural for them to be that big. And that's like all just based on this farming and these chemicals. That's why, like, I know not everyone could get to a farmer's market, but just being in a getting your food from a farmer's market is so much better because the soil is taken care of more. It's raised in smaller batches. The batch size has so much to do with it, and you just get so much more minerals in your food as opposed to just going to your typical supermarket where you're literally getting like Frankenstein food, you know. And again, I understand not everyone could get to a farmer's market, but if you can, I would highly suggest it. And the other interesting thing about the data is this is why animals are so cool. Like you take cows, it matters what they eat for sure, right? That's why grain fed and grass fed is different. But cows' ability to eat food and keep the nutrients that we're used to in it is like magical. Like cows, like a cow could keep eating that same grass and we'll still get that same nutrients across that meat forever. Animals are incredibly good at that. Same with chickens, where their bodies are just able to, like, again, I'm not talking about giving a cow grain. That's a different story, right? But like when they're eating what they're supposed to eat, like grass fed, like just eating grass, that meat stays consistent. The nutrients and the minerals in that meat stay consistent over time, which is why, like, you think about it, like farmers literally work until they're 90 years old and they like die sitting on their rocking chair in their house, right? And then you take like another like 90-year-old and they're in like they're in an old person's home, they're shriveled up like that. It's because like of their food they're eating is good. It's real food. They eat it their whole life. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, those are the four minerals we're going to go over: magnesium, zinc, iron, and selenium. Because a lot of people don't know how important they are, right? And just what happens when you have trace mineral deficiencies. Like they significantly impact bodily functions. Uh, I would say we'll start with magnesium because I think it's the most important one that we're going to talk about. So, like magnesium, so minerals aren't like the building blocks of hormones, right? That's lipids and amino acids. But what they are is they're like the signaler. So they have an incredible impact on binding to enzymes for protein, stabilizing structures, hormone synthesis, activation, signaling, neurotransmitters, a ton of that is fueled by minerals, ATP, right? So like zinc binds to DNA, magnesium binds to ATP. Like anytime you see ATP in like chemistry, magnesium is bound to it. To give you an idea how important magnesium is for neurotransmitter general energy, right? So I think you did a little research on magnesium. I don't know if you want to hop in.
Yeah. You down with ATP? Yeah, you know me. Yeah, let's kick it off with magnesium. You know, a mineral that's near and dear to my heart, often referred to as the master mineral. Like we said before, it's the #1 mineral deficiency worldwide. And that's a combination of modern soils being depleted. It's also our water via the filtration processes we go into, and we'll go into that later via reverse osmosis. So it's there, like you said before, there's a plethora of different health benefits of magnesium. It's the stress mineral. So it gets burned up by cortisol, caffeine, and daily stress, which a lot of us have a lot of those factors going in. It's also a nervous system regulator. We did a whole episode on nervous systems. Feel free to go back and reference that for more deep dives. So it calms the fight or flight response, taking you out of a sympathetic response, putting you into a parasympathetic response, which is going to promote rest and recovery. It's also a muscle relaxer, prevents cramps, spasms, twitching. You ever get all cramped up working out? Some people think it's a dehydration thing. Well, the problem is, and we'll go into this more later, when you're drinking exorbitant amounts of water without any minerals, you're actually just furthering the dehydration process in your body. You're stripping away what minerals are left in your body. It's dead water. So yeah, it prevents cramps, spasms, twitching. It's also a sleep supporter, and it does that by boosting GABA and melatonin pathways, promoting deeper, more restful sleep. Like you just mentioned, it's used for energy production. I could barely talk today, bro. I'm blowing it. Energy production needed in every single ATP, which is your cellular fuel. No magnesium, no energy. It's that simple. It's used for heart health, regulates the heartbeat, blood pressure, and vascular relaxation. And you need that, man, because those veins are popping, daddy.
There's some studies on that too. The studies are crazy on correlations with magnesium deficiencies and a bunch of different heart diseases. I was going to say in the running community, I didn't learn about I always thought when you're cramping, it's potassium, right? Oh, eat a banana, potassium. So magnesium malate is one of them. That is, I stopped cramping once I started taking that, and I was told to take it when I was literally running through Central Park, and I was like on the side of the road, like screaming, like because my
homeless guy ran up to you.
You
need more magnesium malate,
dude. And this like 80-year-old, you know how those the 80-year-old runners that are all hunched over, but they could run like 30 miles. He pulls over and he goes, "Do you have any salt packets?" I go, "Yeah, like I had the goo thing." And he goes, "You taking any magnesium malate?" And I was like, I don't even know what that is. Like I knew of like glycinate, I think carbonate. Like I never even heard of it. He goes, "When you go home, order it." He goes, your cramps will stop. And he wasn't kidding. I ordered that and I stopped cramping when I started running. Magnesium has such a huge effect on cramping. I don't think people realize that. But I want to touch on one thing. So you're talking about how it calms you down, but it gets burned. So this is pretty interesting. When you take magnesium, it calms you down. There's literally a magnesium product supplement called Calm that they sell to take at night. And so magnesium calms you down when you take it, but magnesium gets burnt when you have anxiety, like you said, spikes in cortisol, anxiety. So most people, think about this, are magnesium deficient to begin with. And then you have all of this, like you have all the stress of life. And now you're burning magnesium that you are already deficient in to begin with. And here you are like completely deficient in magnesium. So I think that actually has a big thing. I think that plays a big role in why we're deficient in magnesium, because you actually burn through it when you have anxiety.
Yeah, 100%. And you touched on one of the forms of magnesium. There's many forms of magnesium. We're not going to get to all of them on this stream, But you just mentioned malate, which is good energy, muscle recovery, anti-cramping. There's also thronate, which is brain boosting, most efficiently crosses the blood-brain barrier level. And then my personal favorite, magnesium glycinate, which is used for calming, and it's best for sleep and anxiety. And on top of that, as mentioned before, bone health, right? It partners with calcium and vitamin D. Without magnesium, calcium gets misused, and there can actually be calcification of arteries instead of bones.
Yep. That's I actually have some research on that. I could hop down to that right now. So
Yeah,
magnesium, like you said, plays a pivotal role and is a principal driver in cardiovascular disease. So they did this metadata review where they went over 20 studies, and what they found is when you had low intracellular magnesium, meaning magnesium inside your cell, it correlated to a 30 to 50% increase in risk of atherosclerosis, which is just this condition, like you just said, where your arteries narrow and they get filled with plaque, right? So that's a common thing, right? You hear people have plaque in their arteries, and that happens when you have too much calcium and you don't have enough magnesium. Those are completely tied together. Also, hypertension, which is high blood pressure, and then just sudden cardiac arrest. And what they found was when they supplemented with just 300 milligrams of magnesium, it reduced cardiovascular events by 20% within that high risk like data pool that they had. So just by taking magnesium, it brought that whole entire test group down 20%, which I thought was interesting. And then another one for magnesium with neurological disorders. So this was a study like 5 years ago, I think it was 2019, where they associated a depletion of magnesium with, dude, it was Alzheimer's, strokes, and then migraines. In the data pool, which was 10,000 people, 50 to 70% of the migraine participants were deficient in magnesium, which I
That's
thought was
crazy.
interesting. 50 to 70% of them.
And you always got to wonder if it's like causation or correlation, but still a really interesting,
Yeah.
interesting fact.
So that's just to show you how, and again, like we said, this is one of the most underused, like most deficient minerals. And in the studies, again, this is across metadata, 50 to 60% of adults in first world countries are deficient in magnesium. And the recommended daily dose is 320 milligrams a day. That was another interesting thing about doing this research, right? So you have recommended dose. So the recommended dose is just like the bare minimum for your body to function, right? And then there's
Yeah.
like optimal dose. But any studies that are done, it's always based on recommended dose. And that was kind of like eye-opening for me. I was like, wait, hang on. So there's a recommended dose, which is the bare minimum. And then there's an optimal dose, which is completely different. And they don't really test for that. And I've heard Huberman talk about this before, that like the recommended doses are just the bottom. That's what your body needs to function. And a lot of times, just because of environmental stressors, it's just not enough. Yeah. See, Corn Pop just said my neighbor was taken to the hospital and there ended up being magnesium deficiency. Yeah, it's a big Corn Pop takes magnesium glycinate. Love that. Love to hear that.
Getting some good
Yeah, so
feedback. This is a great episode. I've needed this information. You came to the right spot. Appreciate that,
So
guys. Pastor, love the content. Appreciate it, fellas.
So that's magnesium. Again, that's the only like macro mineral we'll go over today. So the first micro mineral or
Before
trace
we jump
mineral is
into
what.
that, I want to talk about one more semi-controversial method for actually getting magnesium, and that's Epsom salt baths, which as an athlete, I'm a massive fan on. Now, there is some debate. The popular claim is you can absorb magnesium through your skin, which I don't see why you couldn't. You can absorb
Yeah.
basically anything through your skin transdermally. Some small studies show possible absorption, but the results are kind of mixed. As usual, mainstream science is skeptical. Holistic circles swear by it. I'm more on that holistic cycle where I feel an amazing difference. Another wicked way, bro, I don't know if you've done this before, is float tanks. So
Yep.
float tanks are filled with magnesium. And when
So
you
that's
get out
probably
of
the
it,
most concentrated,
bro,
right?
you
I would
feel
assume.
so. Have you done a float before?
Yeah.
Bro,
I
it
remember
feels
asking
so
them,
good.
dude, there's like, am I wrong when I like literally like 100 pounds of salt in that thing, right? Isn't it some
A
like
lot of salt,
it's like an astronomical amount of
a
salt.
lot of
That's
salt, brother.
so I do it for my kids. I do it for myself. I do it for my kids when they're 6. I have like magnesium flakes, like actual, I think it's magnesium carbonate. I'm trying to see the bag in my head. But yeah, but I don't buy that that doesn't work at all. I think that works great. I do it
Yeah, I
when they're
don't
sick.
know why it
I mean,
wouldn't
I did
work.
it. Dude, I've taken like probably 3 Epsom salt baths this in the past 10 days just to get magnesium into my body, like to and to, the heat help it recover. But yeah,
And
I'm a big fan of Epsom salt
one
baths.
more fun fact about magnesium, it can also be used as a very powerful laxative. So take too much
Yes.
magnesium, you're gonna be running to the toilet. And maybe you're into that. No judgment, friends.
Actually talk about that right at the end, because I talked to you about a product that I take and it's hard one. Yeah, yeah.
Eat
You call
corn
that one
pop.
a buckshot.
My neighbor was taken to the hospital, and the reason ended up being magnesium deficiency. 100%, man.
Yeah, no, that doesn't. That said, I hope he ended up being okay. It's usually a quick fix. But yeah, a lot of cardiovascular doctors talk about magnesium a bunch because again, it really ties in with calcium. They need to balance each other out, or you get a bunch of plaque in your arteries, which is scary.
And you
It'll
had
take you
some.
out.
Do you want to jump into the foods for it, or are you going to do that at the end? I know you had
Yeah, yeah. No, we could go into the foods.
because
So
obviously the best way, guys. Anytime you can get the more bioavailable form, especially maybe we'll do an entire episode on how a lot of these supplements are made, which might terrify you. Maybe we'll do that later. But the best way,
yeah.
obviously, anytime you can get it in nature, anytime you can get in your diet, and a lot of times you can get everything from your diet. So let's jump into some foods. What are foods that are
Yes.
rich in magnesium?
So you get magnesium actually through like nut seeds and leafy greens. Pumpkin seeds are actually by far the best. One serving of pumpkin seeds has 127% of the daily recommended dose of magnesium, and hemp seeds are second with where one serving size. I guess I didn't put the grams down, is 50% of the recommended dose. So you're literally getting 150 milligrams of magnesium from hemp seeds. Those are the 2 best ones. But then, like, just your basic almonds and cashews are great. The thing with nuts, when you eat nuts, you got to watch out because you got to do some portion control, right? Because it's a really
Oh, bro,
calorie dense
it's
food.
so easy to over. That's probably why I'm so thick right now, bro.
It's not.
Snacking that nuts.
Yeah, that's an easy one to overeat. And then leafy greens, right? So cooked spinach is actually the best one. It's one of those ones where cooking actually concentrates the magnesium in it because
But not
raw
over,
greens have,
right? More of like a kind of like a steaming
yeah, what is that called? Blanched. When it's
blanching.
just,
Are you getting
yeah,
fancy?
and that
Getting all
has,
French on me, bro.
yeah, and that just has to do with when it's raw, it's like less volume, like it's less per volume just because the water, like the water content makes it more. But yeah, leafy greens. So spinach is the best one. But yeah, nuts. I think nuts are the easiest way, especially hemp seeds. I think hemp seeds are easy, man. You could throw that, throw it in whatever you're eating. They don't really taste like anything. You know. But those are the 2 best foods for magnesium. And then I would say, I think iron is, no, we'll go into zinc because zinc's another crazy one. So we'll do zinc next. So zinc's essential roles for anyone that's ever taken like Zicam, right? So zinc's like immune function, DNA synthesis, wound healing, but it's really best for immune function. So when you have low zinc levels, you just get immune dysfunction, right? So increased susceptibility to infections, and that's because zinc actually aids in T cell production. So that's the same reason why if you're deficient in zinc, you'll have hair loss, dermatitis. Your wounds will actually heal slower. That's all correlated to the fact that your T cell production is down. And then this is pretty interesting. Zinc in children So stunted growth in children in their developmental stage if you have a deficiency in zinc, because it has to do with something that I wasn't smart enough to understand. It's like some cell division thing. I couldn't really explain that to you. But I just thought that was interesting. And then cognitive effects, poor memory and concentration, because zinc modulates brain function. That's the thing. These minerals, again, they don't build things in that sense. Like things aren't built off them, but they're just like amplifiers and signalers for so many things in our body, especially like endocrine system, like mainly endocrine system. So just the studies on zinc were pretty interesting too, because a ton of studies came out during COVID actually, because again it was an airborne illness, right? So the first study I came across was in 2024. It was out of Japan, big study. It was 20,000 patients, and they linked zinc deficiency to an increased risk of pneumonia by 40%. And same thing, skin issues increased by 25%, growth delays in children, same thing. And then the next one was during COVID. There was two of them done during COVID. And it was metadata studies. So that's like 20 plus studies. I think it was like 8,000 data points that zinc deficiency increased the severity of progression of COVID by 200 to 300% because it impaired like antiviral T cell production, right? But just by taking 10 to 50 milligrams of zinc a day for 3 days, it decreased hospitalization by 40%.
Wow.
Yeah. I thought that was crazy. And that's just zinc, right? So an over-the-counter zinc product is Zicam. You've probably seen it before. It's like a sublingual, it's like a pill that you put under your tongue. It melts in your mouth, tastes like shit. But zinc is super important to just immune boosting. And again, this has been stripped from our food. Just completely stripped from our food.
Hormonal support too, right? Like some people call zinc like one of the building blocks of testosterone, and it supports LH and FSH signaling and testosterone synthesis. It's also good for your hormone and conversion of T4 into T3. So if you're deficient in zinc, you're gonna have a hard time getting those sweet, sweet anabolic gains.
This doctor I was listening to, it wasn't on Huberman. I think it was on like Fit Father, and he was saying that
Father.
like yeah, I think it was called Fit Father. It's actually a
Good.
pretty cool podcast. He has like a bunch of different doctors and stuff on, and he was saying that minerals are the building blocks of hormones. But
Absolutely.
yeah, but it's like tough when you go try to research that because like hormones are actually built on like amino acids, right? But again, they're very paired together with, again, it's like a signaler, an amplifier for all this stuff. But
Well,
yeah,
the
that's
system is holistic, right? Like everything works synergistically. Like your body there's a reason everything stays so in balance, right? If one thing's deficient, it affects everything else. It's just like an injury. You know, you get a hamstring injury. Maybe it wasn't due to your actual hamstring. It was an imbalance upstream or downstream. It's the same way with minerals, same way with everything in the body.
yeah, it's like I can tell you, I definitely pulled my hamstring because I was totally dehydrated.
What are you drinking?
The same thing I always drink. It's like cold pressed juice with some water. There's actually some
What kind of juice?
trace minerals in here. It's called like
Oh,
stomp juice. It's like blueberry and blackberry or something like that. I don't know. I buy
mm,
it from the market every weekend. I get two of them for $10. Solid deal.
what a deal.
But those zinc foods are pretty much the same as the magnesium foods, except like animal based would be oysters. A ton of seafood is really good for minerals, really good, which kind of makes sense because they sit in salt water. So that makes a lot of sense. But
Got to be careful, obviously, with certain types of seafood and just the heavy metal count, right? Like if
yeah,
you're getting your minerals like zinc from seafoods, you got to be careful where you're sourcing. Try to get sustainably sourced,
yeah, a
and
lot
then
of that's like
obviously certain fish like tuna, very very high in heavy metals.
yeah, tuna is like terrible mercury,
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah.
Yeah, but same thing with the seeds. Seeds are great for zinc. So that's your pumpkin seeds, your hemp seeds. but you also get zinc from dairy, right? So eggs, cheese, yogurt, that's another good source. But yeah, zinc is the
But and obviously
massive.
high quality dairy would be better, right? Because just like, if your
Oh, wait a
soil is
second.
depleted, you're not getting minerals from it. If the animals that, if you're consuming animal products and they're not getting proper nutrition, then they're not going to have the same level of these minerals.
Yeah, and just like your basic milk that you buy in the store is high temp pasteurized, right? So that nukes most of the, it nukes a lot of the nutrients out of the milk. I'm not saying a lot of people can't get raw milk, but you could get low temp pasteurized milk that has way more good bacteria in it, keeps so much more of these minerals in the milk. It, I would argue you could feel the difference. Like my kids had this, I forget what it's called, but they had like bumps on their arms when they were babies. And once we found this milk at the farmer's market, it's like the closest you could get to raw milk in New York. It went away within like a month. And that was the only thing I changed was their milk. Because I was buying like this A2 milk at the supermarket, which is another cool milk, honestly. Do you know anything about ever hear of A2 milk? It's pretty
No,
interesting.
no, it's A2
So
milk.
so A2 milk, there is two types of protein in milk, right? Oh, did I freeze?
A little bit.
Am I back yet? No?
Now
That's a
you can
terrible picture.
you can keep riffing though. Yeah, you look like shit, but that's okay. Keep going. I can still hear you.
No, but I'm frozen. This happened on Flip the Stock Market. Should I hop out and hop back in?
Oh, it's up to you, bro. You can see
Yeah, I'm
if it
gonna hop
kicks.
out and hop back in.
Sounds good. We'll go to the chat for a second while he's getting connected back. Corn Pop, glad your friend ended up okay. Take 50 milligrams of zinc every day for immune health. Had the vid. I'm not going to say the whole word so we don't get censored. It's not even bad as a cold. Hell yeah, brother. That was not needed. The shame. I am being censored. I don't blame you. What's up, Dutch? Log me arc, legends. And even worse when they take the fat out of the milk. Absolutely, man. That's the whole psyop on fat by Big Sugar. Oh, he's back, ladies and gentlemen.
Ah, dude, that happened today on Flip the Stock Market. I'm gonna
You got to get
try.
your life together, bro. I'm trying to run a professional show here.
I know, man. I know. So you heard me talking. I just phrased it like that.
Yeah, no, it was the best. It was the best you've ever looked, dude. I'm not gonna
But
lie.
A2 is really interesting, right? So basically there's two proteins in milk, A1 and A2. So up until recently, the past 40 years, milk was dominated by A2 protein. And why that matters is A2 protein barely has any lactose in it, but A1 protein has almost 90% of the lactose that's in milk. Now, our cows today produce A1 dominated protein, like A1 protein dominated milk. So it's super heavy in lactate, like yeah, what's the word I'm looking for? Lactate, which which people are allergic to, right? Like lactose. There's the word lactose. So that just started happening when we started pumping our cows full of antibiotics and spraying their food with chemicals. It never used to be like that. It used to be A2 dominated milk. And that's why you saw lactose intolerance skyrocket over the last like 30, 40 years. And it's because like all the antibiotics we're giving them because we don't feed them the right food. We spray their food. It literally changed their gut so much that it changed the way they
Well,
produce milk.
imagine too, like the levels of cortisol in the actual animals from those conditions, right? Like that's a huge factor as well.
Oh, especially if they're just in a little cage. Yeah, for sure, like 100%. But
I
yeah, so
can't do
that's why.
traditional dairy, bro. I get tons of pimples and stuff. Like it has to be really high quality raw, otherwise my skin immediately rebels to me.
Yeah, so I was just using that A2 milk, which is awesome. Like I would say anyone that has like any type of lactose intolerance, but they could still kind of have dairy, you should try that milk. It's because it has the same like fat content as whole milk. It just has 90% less of the lactose in it, which is pretty cool. But yeah, when I switched to this low temp milk that I found at the farmer's market, their skin healed. Pretty cool. That
That's
was I
cool.
didn't expect that either. Yeah. So
Did you
that
go
was
into while we were on zinc, did you go to enzymes and repair? I can't remember if we
no,
talked
I
about that.
didn't.
So it's the cofactor. Zinc is a cofactor for 300 enzymes and essential for DNA and RNA synthesis and protein folding. It's also essential for skin wound healing and your taste and smell.
Yeah, if you are deficient in zinc, you will lose your sense of smell. That's literally in the data. That's in
Really?
the research. Yeah, that was in the. I didn't even say that. That was in the research that I found when I was doing it. Taste and smell prevalence 30%. So people that were deficient in zinc had a 30% chance of having dulled taste or smell, like taste or smell disorders.
So if you have like a smelly girlfriend or boyfriend, being zinc deficient might actually be beneficial.
Yeah, she's got that stank breath. Lay off the sink. That's a good one, actually.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, she,
essential for the brain as well. You know, neurotransmission, sympathetic plasticity. Dude, I can't talk today. And
plasticity.
yeah, plasticity, and brain fog and low mood that can often be a sign of zinc deficiency.
Yeah, so then that means we have two left, right? We didn't talk about iron or selenium. So iron,
He froze again.
did I really?
Yeah,
Oh
look at
my
this.
god.
Okay, let's go back to the comments. Thanks for being patient. All the cream to the top. So when y'all chugging a gallon of raw milk on live, winner gets 50K. Giga, my money on Mang. You get frozen for saying that, Mang. I'm sorry, ladies. I'm trying to run a professional stream here. My man Mang is all over the place. I sincerely apologize. This guy's
Dude,
ruining everything we've worked for,
we're gonna
boys.
blow through the rest of this because clearly I'm having some internet. But yeah, iron was the next one, right? So that's hemoglobin production, oxygen transport, and energy metabolism. So anemia is actually a really big thing in like across the country. I forget the statistics. It's like almost 25% of the
Across the
global
world, brother.
population. 25% of the global population has iron deficiency anemia. It's called IDA, and it's higher rates in women and children. Women, they say from menstrual cycle. They didn't really explain why in children, but anemia sucks. That's like fatigue, weakness, and that all has to do with your breath doesn't carry oxygen at the capacity that it's supposed to. So you're literally getting less oxygen to your brain, which leads to cognitive impairments. No, iron's super important for us too. Corn pop, super important for males. We just
Iron good for women.
no, iron. We just happen. That's also a dietary thing, right? Men tend to eat more meat, red meat in particular. So we just get more iron in our diet compared to females. Well, that's not okay. But cognitive, it has cognitive impairment. So like difficulty concentrating, memory issues, developmental delays in children, and that all just has to do with like brain oxidation. And yeah, I think I have. Hang on, I brought up like a study on it. Like I said, over about 25% of the global population has what they call IDA. That's iron deficiency anemia. So there was a metadata study done. What year was this? 2013, and it showed that this is actually a crazy one. So I put it in there. Iron deficiency caused a 5 to 10% IQ drop in children and motor delays. But with supplementation of iron, they were able to reverse it in 70% of the cases.
Whoa,
Thought that was crazy. Pretty crazy stat.
that's a crazy stat, bro.
Yeah. So iron-rich foods. So it's called like heme versus non-heme. So heme iron comes from like meats and seafoods, which is the best place to get iron because it has like a 2 to 3 times more absorption rate than what they call non-heme iron, which is what you get from like vegetables, plants, because plants have phthalates and oxalates, which we can't digest, right? Because
Yeah,
like
that's
cell
that's
walls,
actually
stuff like
something
that.
I wanted to talk about when we were talking about eating leafy greens. That a lot of people can actually get kidney stones from a buildup of oxalic acid right? And a good way to mitigate that is actually by mixing it, or sorry, people would get calcium from the leafy greens, right? And sometimes there's a buildup, especially in kale, of oxalic
Yeah,
acid that
yeah.
can lead to kidney stones. Now, a good way to get across this is either like slightly boiling or blanching, that can remove some of the oxalic acid, but also if you take magnesium with it, that can bind to some of the oxalates and pull those out.
Yeah, that's people don't people don't realize like the like oxalates and phthalates and how nasty they can be on your body. Like
Kidney stones.
vegetarians, yeah, kidney stones. And what was I just gonna say about iron? Oh, so like I was saying, it actually has like for athletes, you'll like see these like weird random stories where like this vegetarian was, is a strong man. But most athletes need to eat meat because iron, it has to do with oxygen. It just has to do with delivery of oxygen, in particular, like during VO2 max and stuff. Like if you don't have good iron in your system, or if you're a vegetarian, not supplementing it, you're gonna fatigue. You're gonna fatigue faster. It's just science.
Yeah, they need it for energy metabolism too, right? Because it's a cofactor for cytochromes in the mitochondria, aka ATP production.
Yeah, it's crazy how much these minerals are tied to ATP production. Like they really are kind of like it's all I kept coming across, especially with magnesium and iron. And it's so like organ meats are super rich in iron, which makes sense. If you ever eat liver, it tastes like metal. It actually tastes like metal. And then your shellfish, so like oysters, clams, that kind of stuff. But again, you definitely want to make sure you know where that's sourced. That is definitely a thing with seafood. You don't
Well,
want
and
to
a
just
cool way
get
to get iron as well is using a cast iron pan. You can actually, when you use a cast iron pan to cook your meat,
yeah,
you
you
can
literally
actually
get iron.
yeah. And then I saw something really cool too, because there's obviously a big problem with iron deficiency in the third world. So what they were making was like these little, it was just a chunk of iron that they would make like into different animals. Like the one I saw was a fish. And what they would do is when they're making soups, they would just put the piece of
Just
iron
throw
in
it in
there.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
that
it's a
makes
very
sense.
low cost permanent iron supplement.
Yeah, and then I'm so afraid I'm just gonna cut out again. So then the
I
last
feel
one
your fear,
is
bro. Chill, bro.
the
Just
last
chill.
one is selenium.
Kill it.
So a lot of people don't know what selenium is. Selenium is a super powerful antioxidant, like just as strong as like glutathione's a more popular one that people know of. But antioxidant, thyroid function, and it's really tied to your thyroid, which Shine, you probably know more about this. Thyroid's super important for metabolism, fatigue, weight gain, all that stuff. And if it's increased deficiencies in selenium led to like susceptibility for viral infections, oxidative stress, so increased risk of like any type of chronic disease you could think of. There's like cancer, heart attack, and that just has to do with reduced antioxidant activity, right? So antioxidants are kind of what our body sends out to fight anything bad that's going on, right? That's why like you see a bunch of people talk about antioxidants. You talk about like dark colored fruits, stuff like that. That's how a lot of people get their antioxidants. But selenium is one of those main minerals that is like a driving antioxidant force in our bodies. And because it's been completely stripped from the soil, especially in places like Europe and China, actually, it's just like almost non-existent in the soil anymore. Which not
Yeah,
good.
other foods as
Selenium
well, like
was that.
Brazil nuts, incredibly high in selenium.
Yeah, Brazil nuts are a weird one though, man. Did you ever eat Brazil nuts?
Yeah, they taste like shit.
You could get so sick off them too. Like you literally you're only supposed to eat like one or two Brazil nuts. That's it. Like
No
if you
one's doing
eat a handful of Brazil nuts, you could get sick as shit. You just throw
that. Really?
up. Yeah, that's what happened.
That sounds low T, bro.
I fucking puked everywhere. I had no
Really?
idea. Yeah, this guy was like, yeah, these are great, dude. You got to eat these. They're like super good for you. And I just ate like a fucking handful of them. And an hour later, I was puking. I'm like, this is terrible. And then when I came across selenium-rich foods, it says the standout source with just 1 or 2 are Brazil nuts, meeting or exceeding daily requirements. However, excessive intakes can lead to toxicity, causing hair loss or nausea.
It's
So
already the
yeah,
worst
actually,
tasting nut. It's just been cursed by God. Yeah, because like your daily need is, approximately 55 micrograms. But again, we always want to overshoot these daily needs. So, and the
yeah, for
optimal
sure.
thyroid support range is more between 1 and 200 micrograms. And one Brazil nut can have 90 micrograms. But obviously, again, that's going to vary like wildly by the quality of the nut.
Yes, where it's sourced.
Quality
That's
of
another one.
the
Clip it. Uh,
nut.
that's, that's where a lot of this stuff comes back to seafood. Same thing, like shellfish, oysters, tuna, sardines, salmon. These are all like really good sources of selenium, also
Also,
magnesium and zinc.
eggs, mushrooms, and sunflower seeds.
Yeah, shiitake mushrooms is another good one. Yeah. And then I was going to say something that I take, I'm not recommending anyone else takes it, but for trace minerals, so it's like froze again.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm enjoying this crashing and watching him crash out simultaneously. You can overdo iron. Also, we'll go to the comments again. Yeah, our bodies truly are so complex. You do one thing is out of balance, it brings the whole system out of balance, and that's why we always shoot for a holistic approach on the show. Are you back, bro? You get your life together?
Dude, we're going to end this stream in 5 minutes because I'm
Oh,
just
I want to see you crash out on stream, bro. We're gonna keep
fucking
this one going.
humiliated. Yeah, did I see Corn Pop say that his wife's going to see Barbara O'Neill?
Yeah, who's
Did he
that?
Oh, she's great. She's like
Really?
a great holistic. Yeah. Oh, you've probably seen her videos. She's great.
She a babe?
No, she's probably like 70.
Be nice. She might watch
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah. Yeah. She's hot. But I was gonna say I take this. So Trace Minerals is the company. So it's like a concentrated formula. What I like about this is this bottle is I think $30. All it takes is a half a teaspoon, and you get 60% of the magnesium that you need in the day. Now, when you were talking about magnesium as a um, as a make you shit your pants thing,
A pooping agent.
100% a pooping agent.
An
The
agent of
first time I bought this, so the bottle has like directions. Like you start with 5 drops, and then the next day you do 10 drops, and you build up to 40 drops, which is half a teaspoon. I was like, that sounds like some bitch shit. I'm just gonna do I'm just gonna do a tablespoon, not a teaspoon,
the
and
guy who
I
couldn't eat more
shit.
than the guy who couldn't eat more than one Brazil nut thinks he's like all of a sudden a badass. Like,
Dude, it was one of those things where like I just put like a tablespoon in this exact drink because this is like what I drink all day. And within 10 minutes, when your stomach just like folds over, like I
oh
was
yeah.
like, just like it started like punching down. It's like, oh, it reminded me of MCT oil. First time I took MCT oil, did the same thing. I was like, remember what was it called? Like bulletproof coffee? When that was like the
Oh, yeah.
big thing was to put the,
Oh,
yeah, I did the same thing. I put like 2 tablespoons of MTC oil in my coffee and just buckshot it everywhere. But yeah, this stuff is great. And it's just an easy way to get trace minerals into, you could like literally throw it in anything. It doesn't really, it just tastes like kind of like salt water. Again, not recommending that you buy it. This is just something that I use. The website's great. Trace Minerals, the company, they have a bunch of stuff on there. It comes in like gummies. They have electrolyte stuff on there. But I think that's a cool product that I use personally that I really like.
Yeah, and it's good
And
to
it's
even
like,
just microdose that in your water throughout the day because we didn't fully dive into it, but we mentioned it at the starting. A lot of the filtration processes for water, when you're getting reverse osmosis, it's really good at taking the bad stuff out, but unfortunately, it takes the good stuff out as well. So if you're constantly, this is something Gary from Human Garage talks about all the time. If you're constantly drinking water, trying to hydrate yourself, but it doesn't have the proper minerals that water normally would if found in nature, it's just going to lead to further dehydration.
yeah, like reverse osmosis is great. That's like the best filtration of system for your water, 100%. But like you said, just you have to look at it as it strips everything out of that water. And they make little filters that you could add, like, so if you have reverse osmosis, like on your sink, Like you could just fill up I would prefer a glass jug, and they make little filters that are literally like trace mineral filters that you could drop right in their water. Like right, it's called pure water, I believe. I probably
Yeah,
don't have any
you can
plans.
throw some copper and some iron, high quality copper and iron. You can throw that in a vessel overnight, and the water's going to leach some of it, and it's going to help remineralize your water, and that's super low cost.
Yeah, these man, I wish I knew I should look it up quick. The name of these filters. I think it's called Pure Water. It's this little tiny filter and it has a bunch of trace minerals in it. And I think one of them is you put one in a gallon. It can fill up a gallon of water and it lasts for like almost 4 months. I think it's 4 months. And yeah, just remineralizes your water. So it really is super important. People don't realize how important mineralization is.
I would also add to that, since we're just talking about water really quickly, a simple shower filter. Like you can spend $8-9 on Amazon, put a little filter on, and that's going to help take out a lot of the bad stuff that's coming through your tap. That's going to lead to hair loss, skin problems, and just make you healthier.
Fluoride is in
Fluoride,
most
chlorine
tap
sometimes
water.
too.
Chlorine, and that all absorbs through your skin.
Chlorine is massively toxic to breathe as well. Like we have pools everywhere in Bali. I have a pool. I never go in it. Why? Because chlorine is toxic on the system. When you go into a chlorinated pool, you're absorbing that transdermally. Not only that, but when your pool filter is running, you're breathing in the chlorinated gas.
Yeah, there was a big pivot to saltwater pools for that reason. Just way healthy. Yeah,
And
way healthier.
another great resource on water too. This is something I can't really find over here as much in Indonesia, but there's a website called findaspring.com. Have you ever used this? Have you used this? Have you
No.
heard of this? You know what this is? It's basically just a worldwide database resource where you can find natural springs. The best source of
Shit, I
water.
probably got some up here.
Dude,
probably got some up
I
here.
used to have, like, when I was in Canada, I would have all the big glass vessels because obviously when you're storing water in plastic, it's less than ideal for, you know, microplastics. Not that there's any way of getting away from that. Like, but you can try your best, right? I would go straight directly to the spring, fill up the glass vessels, and that water hit different, man. It really, really did.
Findaspring.com. I gotta check that out.
Fine spring. Did you see your corn pod said? I think Shiny freezes him, so he can't talk.
You think is yeah, it's a great one.
Find a spring, check it out, man. Like if you can go and get spring water straight from the source, man, it's so essential, right? And that's a huge thing. Like a lot of people put emphasis on the food they're eating, but how many people really think about the water they're drinking? That's massive. Like some stats about water, right? And just dehydration. 1 to 2% in dehydration equals a noticeable drop in mental performance, focus, and reaction time. That's only 1 to 2%. 3 to 4% dehydration, significant reduction in muscle strength and endurance. 9 to 12% dehydration, confusion, dizziness, risk of organ failure, because your brain tissue is 73% water. Even mild dehydration literally shrinks brain volume temporarily. And that's why weight cutting and fighting is so dangerous. And I know this because 1 year ago, I had a fight at Token 2049 for Influencer Fight Club. And I cut 8 kilograms in, what was it? 24 hours and about 6.5 kilograms in 12 hours. Oh, you need the pounds?
What is that? 17 pounds? 17 pounds?
8 kgs to pounds. Yeah, about 17 pounds.
Yeah. And how, so 12 hours?
17 pounds in 24 hours and about 6.5. Let me pull up the 6.5
So
kg.
14.
15 pounds in about 12 hours to make weight. Bro, you feel so bad. You can't drink any. You're just sitting in the sauna. You're massively dehydrated. I looked great, though. I looked great.
Wait, Token 49 is like,
Yeah,
is it the same time every year? It's going on right now.
Yeah, there's one in Singapore every year, and there's one in Dubai every year, and the Singapore one's happening right now.
And you did this in Singapore? This was in Singapore where you did it?
Yeah.
They do a fight club there? That's what that was for?
So Karate Combat, which is this major organization
Yeah,
that's
not
like
karate
actually
combat. Yeah.
yeah. I got to hang out with Boss Root, and that was really, really cool. But they were doing for a while like an influencer fight club. So a bunch of influencers would fight, but we got to fight on the actual Karate Combat card. So I'm technically a Karate Combat fighter who's a 1-0 professional record, which is pretty cool.
Dude, that's crazy.
That was really cool, bro.
Do you know where it is right now? Like in relation to Singapore? Well, yeah, you're not in Singapore. You're in Bali. How far
Very
is that?
close. Very close. Couple hour flight.
Dude, like Corn Pop just said, you got to go there and chill Giga, dude.
It's over now. Maybe a couple days left. I'm not
think
a
it's
big fan of crypto conferences. Like I'm really just kind of
That's why you went there to fight someone.
Yeah, exactly. I went there to kick ass, bro. I left right after my fight.
That's dude, I had no idea it was tied to Token 49. That's hilarious. I would
It was
have
really,
never.
really cool experience, man.
Yeah, man.
I had to go into a
It was-
dark place though. The whole month I was just in a dark, violent place.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense. You don't want to go out there and get beat up by an
Well, especially like
influencer.
a million people like watched it on YouTube. So like my ass literally would have been kicked in front of like 1 million people on a YouTube stream.
Yeah, see, Corn Pop said they went there and they went to Bali. I remember that actually.
Come to Bali, boys.
Disco was there. I remember that.
Come to Bali, my brethrens. Somer. What's up, Somer? When your brain shrinks, it swells, and that can lead to anxiety, mental health issues. Absolutely.
You get punched in the head right after doing that. There's great
It's
fights this weekend. I don't know if you saw that UFC.
I think I did.
Yeah, there's some good ones. What's this? Ankalaev fights
Oh yeah, dude. It is stacked this
Pochon,
weekend. Yeah, and
Corey
Yuri's
Sandhagen,
fighting Roundtree.
Roundtree.
Murad
Yeah,
fighting Sandhagen. Yeah, it's a really good
yeah, it's a
card.
great card.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real good one. I'll be watching that for sure. Legally.
Oh. Should we wrap it up? I don't know if you like.
Yeah,
There's
let's
more
wrap it up.
trace minerals we could jump into. Another couple cool sources of trace minerals I wanted to talk about. Sea moss. I do sea moss. Sea moss has up to 92 plus trace minerals, including iodine, which isn't something we talked about. Maybe we'll do another when we talk about it more. Iodine, magnesium, calcium, potassium, sulfur, zinc, iron, selenium, phosphorus, manganese, copper, barium, chromium, molybdenum. Ones I can't even really say. So
Yeah,
sea
Celtic.
moss,
Yes, Celtic salt's another good one. I
Celtic
believe good way to
moss.
get trace.
I really like Shilajit as well. I got
Yep.
Shilajit in this tea right now. Shilajit, for you guys that don't know, it's basically like a mineral concentration in the Himalayas that forms over hundreds of thousands of years, and they harvest that. You just have to be careful getting high quality stuff because lower quality stuff cannot be good.
Yeah, that Shilajit's cool. Zeolite's another trace mineral. It's very similar. I
What's
think
the
it's
one that
just like
Gary
kind of
talks? What's that one that Gary talks about? Dietaceous.
but dichotomous earth.
Yeah. What do you
Yeah,
know
it's
about
dirt.
that?
Yeah, it's
It's
dirt. Yeah, it's clean dirt. Yeah.
He's a wild guy, bro. He's
It
just
makes
drinking
sense,
some
right?
tea, eating dirt, like.
Yeah, so I never drank it. I would put it in my kids' bath sometimes. I never
And
drank it
he
though.
said that's packed with selenium, right?
Yeah, which makes sense, right? Because we were just saying how the good dirt,
Oh,
like
and
the dirt's
silica.
been stripped.
That's what he was saying.
Silica,
He was saying
yeah,
silica is like the most important underlooked mineral. Gary from Human Garage, very holistic, very out there, very woo woo,
interesting guy.
very,
Yeah,
very interesting. Yeah, I had the opportunity to do a private workshop with him and about 20 other people, and yeah, he was dropping holistic knowledge like bombs.
yeah. I was all aboard with his stuff until he started drinking his pee. That really freaked me out. That freaked me out. Yeah, lost me there. Aside from that, bullish on Gary from Human Garage, but draw the line at the P.
Hey, you don't knock it till you tried it, bro.
I guess so. I cannot say I will, though. I don't think. I feel like I'd have to be stranded on an island somewhere where I
No,
don't
I
know.
would try it. You know I probably will try it.
I know you did it that day. You just don't want to
No,
talk
I
about
did.
it.
I swear, I would tell you. It would be great content. I would tell you. We could clip it.
When Sean told me he met him, that was the first. He's like, I'm going to meet him. And the first thing I messaged him back, I was like, please don't drink your pee, dude. Please don't do it.
And you know what's the number one thing you told me? I was like, what's like the
Drink your
number
pee.
one thing you tell? He's like, drink your pee. Oh, this is a good episode, bro.
Yeah, this was great.
Thoroughly
Appreciate
enjoyed
you,
it.
dude. This is a good one. Sorry I froze and looked like a fucking retard
That
7
was
times.
my favorite part.
Save you from the Bali belly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the secret. Sean's just drinking the secret. That's the secret juice.
I like it because it's sterile and warm. All right, we should probably end this one.
Yeah,
Anything else to say?
No, that's
Thanks for
it,
showing
man.
up, guys. You know, like and retweet it, put a comment. It's good for the algorithm. We appreciate all of you guys for tuning in with us. It's a lot of fun doing these, so I hope you guys enjoy them. Anything else, man?
I think that's it. Next week, tentatively, don't know yet. Giga community member is doing a bodybuilding competition this weekend. Good luck. And depending on how he's feeling, he's going to come on and talk about it. Talk about the journey process. I think that'd be a great episode. A lot to learn there. But if not, we'll figure something else out.
And hopefully he gets some remineralization because bodybuilders are on death's door. Speaking of dehydration and diuretics, they're literally on death's door when they're competing.
Yeah, I can't wait to learn about that process. I have so many questions to ask about that. Just like, so many questions, like how you time it, like when do you stop eating carbs and, like when do you suck all of it. I have so many questions to ask.
Yeah,
so that'll be a cool one.
Well, thanks, guys.
Yeah,
another episode of Giga Motion in the books. We love you guys. Love you too, Corn Pop. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we will see you on.
Most of us often chase rather pumps than established memes. And a green candle is somehow spoiled for us until it's screenshot. We stare at charts, forgetting it changes nothing. We watch charts, but not ourselves. This is a disaster. For as a result of confusing dopamine hits with actual profit, we are destroying our net worth. We are so tied up in FOMO and charts that we've lost all conviction. Time to wake up. What is alpha? Obviously, nobody can say, because it isn't just drawing lines on charts. It isn't rotation meta, that's just an idea. Alpha is the Giga cycle cannot be explained in words.